about the time, effort, money they'll be spending in the litigation case, and they'll just back out.
They just decided, look, we're not going to pay you anymore for this. We're taking your idea and we're going to manufacture it. Call our lawyer. Basically, we're infringing on your patent. We don't care.
Hello and welcome to the Priggya Arora Show, where we speak about innovation, law, and entrepreneurship with people who have been there and done that. Today, we have a very famous filmmaker with us. He is the founder of Ground Floor Video, and his film Innovation Race is releasing this week. Welcome, Luke, on the show. I'm excited to speak about you and your film.
Well, Peggy, it's a pleasure to be here with you on the other side of the world. This is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations about your film. How does it feel?
Well, we're really excited about Innovation Race. It's nerve-wracking because we're only in a limited number of theaters tomorrow night for one night only. And people are eager to see the film in the markets where the film is playing. And people that are not anywhere near where the film is playing, they're eager to see it roll out next week on digital platforms.
Wow. On which platform would be people able to see your film?
It's called Trellis. You'll be able to find it through our website. So people can go to the website and then do kind of a pay-per-view viewing of the film for a limited amount of time. And then it'll be on Salem now, and then it'll be on Amazon and iTunes and all that.
Amazing.
So it's kind of rolled out over time. But we begin in the theaters because it's fun to go to a movie and watch a movie.
Absolutely.
Especially about innovation and inventors and patents and things like that.
And I'm so excited because there are very less films covering patents. And so with that, first we'll start about your story and how did you become the person you are today?
Well, my personal story is that I've always been involved in video and film and radio. I was the kid in high school who pushed the projector to class, and set up the film projector and this film strip projector. And I was always involved in technology and recording the announcements for the school and things like that. So I've always been fascinated with media and television. I've started my job and I went to school for television in Michigan here in the US, and then started my first job working for ABC Television and worked for ABC Sports, local TV channels, and then went on to work for a company making corporate production, like sales training and, inside communications within large corporations. I produced infomercials. So I've been involved in video production since I was a kid. And I started my own business back at the .com boom back in 2000. And did internet, building websites and video for the internet back then. So I've just always been doing it. It's a fun thing. It's my passion. I really enjoy it, and documentaries are fun too.
Absolutely. And I am always amazed by the people who are following their passion, especially the documentaries are the stuff, they bring real elements to the audience, like what's actually happening in real life. All other stuff looks very glamorous, but real part of the world needs to know.
Right. I mean, it's documentaries usually they have to explore a novel topic.
Yeah.
It's wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't know there was an issue there, or I didn't realize that these animals behave this way, or whatever. The documentaries take the viewer somewhere into a topic that they've never explored before, or want to learn more about. So sometimes they're investigative, right? They're revealing something very niche, that appeals only to a few people or is very shocking. And then sometimes they're, discovering worlds of beauty and the outdoors. In our film, we take a look at the state of innovation and intellectual property rights,
Yeah.
which some people think they ask me, say, Luke, what's your film about? What's innovation race about? And I go, well, primarily it's about the patent system. And then they go, ah, what are you talking about? I don't care about patents. I don't want to watch your movie. But it's really about injustice in intellectual property. So that then they start to perk up and go, what do you mean? Injustice in patents? Who's being harmed? I go, well, inventors are being harmed. They're having their ideas stolen
Correct.
by infringement. Oh, really? That's terrible. Is that China stealing their ideas? No, it's actually happening right here. And I start to explain some things, say, look, you know, innovation has made America great. I mean, and that's because of our patent system, which was written into our Constitution. It's the first time in history that a government made intellectual property a program within the government, where it was a privilege-based system granted by the royal king and queen and so on. So, I explained, look, that process of publishing an idea but having a monopoly on it for a limited amount of time is what led to American greatness. And everyone's kind of copied our patent system. And now the problem is we've done a lot here to weaken our patent system in the United States through what I call crony corporatism in the film, but it's really regulatory capture. So if you have an industry come in and capture a regulatory body and create something like the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, which invalidates patents at a very high rate, and was meant to do one thing, but then the unintended consequences led to some bad practices, then people have their ideas stolen.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about. And we talk about how does that weakening of the US patent system, and I think everybody agrees there's problems there. Nobody likes the PTAB. Maybe the PTAB Bar Association likes the PTAB, but nobody likes the PTAB. So, the death panel for patents. So, the American viewer goes, wait a minute, that seems unjust when they see stories of predatory infringement and efficient infringement. And they go, wait a minute, that's not fair. That's not the American way. So what is the impact from the consequences of that on our national security? If innovation drives economic competitiveness and national security, what is the impact on America?
Yeah.
All right. And who is going to take it? And we say, well, China's taking advantage of that. China is strengthening their patent system, making it easier for people to patent, protecting patents, and offering injunctive relief and some other things that in recent years we've eliminated. First to invent. But anyways, I'm not a patent attorney. I only reflect what people tell me. But the thing is, I found out, wow, that's not good. And a lot of people get really worried about that when they find out that we're shooting ourselves in the foot here for the benefit of large corporations, and the little guy's getting harmed, and it's also harming our national security. So that's the story of innovation race. And
Wow.
we talk to top leading experts in the field.
Luke, I am working in this domain since past 5 years, and what you said about PTAB is all I know through social media, through news channel. As you said, nobody is liking what PTAB is doing, especially on the ground of invalidating a lot of patents. And I have had inventors on my show speaking about it because they were the ones whose patents were getting invalidated. So I have heard about their stories, but for you, like, how did you come across the field of patents, and how did you think that you'll enter or you'll make a film around patents, innovation, and intellectual property? Because I think this is a domain which is not generally touched by anybody.
Right. Like I said, people's eyes roll in the back of their head. Well, it started back in 2017. Now, as a film and video producer, I do a lot of commissioned work. People hire me to do training videos and so on. Well, I have some nonprofit groups that came to me and said, we have this problem with the patent system, and there's issues with patents and patents weakening, and America is no longer one on no, not longer number one on the innovation index and all that other stuff. So we said, well, okay, well, I don't know anything about this, but I'll dive into it, and started to make some calls and found some inventors who'd been harmed by efficient infringement. And we found an inventor named Josh Malone who invented bunch of balloons. You know what bunch of balloons are?
No, can you explain them in
Okay.
detail?
You probably have it over there. It's where you can make a lot of water balloons very quickly.
Yeah.
You take they're on little sticks, and you screw it onto the end of a hose and fill up like 20 water balloons in
Correct.
one minute or whatever. He invented that back in 2014. The O-ring over the throat of a water balloon with a little straw, and
Yeah.
then all those little straws. It's a brilliant, simple, elegant idea. Well, he had his idea stolen by a large corporation. He took the he came up with this idea. He's an inventor. It was his last ditch effort to find an idea. He was about to give up. His wife was sick. He's the father of 7 kids, and he was trying to make it big, an invention, find an idea, and he put it on one of those websites, not Indiegogo, but whatever, the website where you put your new product on there and try and raise money.
Yeah.
And he raised like $1 million in 2 days, and it became very famous. A large corporation bought one of the prototypes that had a utility patent, and just basically painted it a different color, wrapping prototype manufacturing in China, and started selling. Just stole his idea outright. And it's his journey to save his invention, and his journey takes him to Washington, D.C., where he discovers that patents are at risk. American innovation is suffering because of this infringement. So anyways, that film's called Invalidated. All right. So I was able to learn about this process, as you were asking, through the stories of these inventors, and specifically Josh and Bunch of Balloons. Invalidated is the name of the film, and it's on Amazon Prime. So people can go to and see it there.
Go right now and watch that film. So I believe I've seen the video. I've not seen the whole film, but I've seen the trailer, and I've also seen the working of the puncture balloons and how it works through the trailer.
Right. So we tell primarily Josh's story, which is very emotional and shocking.
Yeah.
And people get angry when they see this, because our audience is not, attorneys. Our audience are everyday Americans, the general public, people that, like you said, their eyes roll back on it when you mention patents and intellectual property and all that other stuff. So that film was very successful and did very well. And then the people came back to me and said, and in Invalidated, we explored for a moment the impact on national security, right? What does a weak intellectual property system mean to that? What does it mean and we explored it for about 5 minutes in that film. And I said, this is a much bigger topic than 5 minutes. So we really want to let's do one that kind of covers some of the same stuff, explains what patents are, explains what intellectual property is, explains the patent system and what the problems are, but then really focuses on China in a big way, because China really is moving on the space to be, involved in world governance of intellectual property. They really want control, right? So what does that mean? So that's what the film does.
So, Luke, from my personal experience, I believe like the cost of getting registration in China is very high as compared to other countries. That's why most of the people are not able to protect their intellectual property in China. Another thing, like from a personal perspective, it is the language barrier which we have against them. So it's very difficult to find Chinese patents which may be cited as a prior art. Like if I have a technology, I don't know whether that technology exists in China or not. Or most of the time, it happens is people say, this might be existing in China. Even if it doesn't, it's very difficult to, analyze what's happening in that country. Do you think like these are the loopholes, or do you want to discuss some loopholes which are happening throughout the world, because which is leading to all the problems that people are facing?
Well, that's a really good question because I don't know if I can discuss it. I mean, I'm limited on I'm not a patent attorney. I've invented something, but I've never patented it. So, I mean, I'm limited on explaining the topic through the voices in my film and the
Yeah.
people I interview. And so there's kind of a lid on what I can discuss. I don't know anything about international patents. I'm not sure about, that's where I fall short in this argument, right? Um, I know that I know Americans, people are going to China to patent. They
Hmm.
actually do find it easier to patent there sometimes because sometimes they just transfer their technology because they can have access to the market, and in the end, it's a better deal if they just patent
Correct.
there and manufacture there. And I do understand that China allows you know forces patent disputes to be settled quickly,
Yes.
right? Instead of the normal 4 years, it's like 90 days or something. They've got to have uh, um, injunctive relief is allowed. You can have someone pay you if they steal your ideas.
Correct.
So there's some things we got rid of that they have that are pretty attractive to inventors. I don't know about how you find prior art in other countries or how that affects things. I do know, and I posted this on LinkedIn today, an article about how China can pursue infringement cases here in the United States through the PTAB and invalidate American patents through the PTAB here in the United States. So Chinese companies could come here and infringe on something and then go to the PTAB and have the original patent invalidated. That seems very unfair to me. So, there's issues of nationalism and things like that come in, and borders and laws, but I'd love to know more about that, and it can be very complicated. But our film doesn't swim up in the sky. It's
Yeah.
not. We're not trying to talk in academic terms that are way above the average American. And I think the conversation is often pushed up there, so elites can discuss all this and make decisions without the average person, involved. And
Yeah.
that's what we try and do in our film, is kind of wake people up to these concepts, because in the end, they're very simple concepts: personal
Correct.
property, right? Intellectual
Absolutely.
property, um, you know, uh,
So sometimes, Luke, I also feel that we are just giving fancy names to the normal concepts, which makes it very difficult to understand. But it is actually not that difficult to understand.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And exactly. I mean, that's true. My I'm going tomorrow night. Like, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, right? Down in the South in the United States, Southeast. I'm flying out to Silicon Valley, to San Francisco, to attend the screening tomorrow night and to host it, right? And it ought to be very interesting because in our film, we're pretty honest about how we feel big tech is kind of taking advantage of the patent system. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if there's anyone that works in big tech there that comes to the film and wants to debate me out in the lobby after the movie.
Yeah. So I also work with, all kinds of clients, like from smaller companies, smaller organizations to bigger organization, and I always feel this tussle, because sometimes I know I have to protect the smaller organization, but on the other side, the bigger corporation is so large, like
Right,
the smaller corporation will just not have money to spend. Like in India, if I say, th- it's very difficult for a smaller law firm to fight a case in lower court, then high court, then supreme court. So similarly in US as well. So
right,
sometimes they just think about the time, effort, money they'll be spending in the litigation case, and they'll just back out. Okay, it's okay if they are infringing on my trademark. I can't do anything. I do not have capacity to fight. It's okay if they are infringing on our technology. We do not have capacity to fight. So I think those concerns are real concerns which need to be taken care of.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea of injunctive relief. It used to be
Yeah.
that the judge would say, okay, I'm going to impose a fine and penalty on the infringer of so much money. And that used to be how we dealt and created certainty with patents. Now what's happened is law, they've gotten rid of that. And you can tell someone, well, you can no longer sell that, but you get to keep all the money you've made up to this point, and there's no financial injunctive relief. And that's what's harming things and making it impossible for the little guy. We did another film recently. It's on YouTube. It's called The Great Equalizer, and it's with US Inventor was the sponsor. And it's the story of Molly Metz. Molly invented a jump rope. Now these are simple inventions, right? These aren't like
Correct.
circuit boards and everything up into high-tech stuff. This simple stuff, but it's easy for the viewer to understand simple inventions. If I was to try and take some abstract process or something very complicated and show the injustice of infringement, you can really get into the minutia, and it's hard to find black and white. But when you say take simple inventions like bunch of balloons, or a novel idea that the viewer can go, oh, I get the novel, I can see how that's very novel and new. Well, she invented a jump rope, and it's a special hinge that no one else had done. And it was a huge success, and people were buying her jump rope for CrossFit training, right? And well, there was a large CrossFit equipment company
Mm.
that licensed it from her, and she was able to, and some people were infringing, but she'd go to them and say, smaller inventors or smaller manufacturers, you're infringing, and they go, okay, and they'd stop and they'd pay her license. But that large company that licensed it from her, they just decided, look, we're not going to pay you anymore for this. We're taking your idea and we're going to manufacture it. Call our lawyer. Basically we're infringing on your
Mhm.
patent, and we don't care.
Yeah.
Come and get us. And it doesn't matter because we have more lawyers than you. We'll outspend you to death in the end. And if you keep challenging us, you won't even have you won't have your money from licensing, and you're not going to have your patent anymore, because we're going to invalidate it at the PTAB when we do an IPR with you. And
Yeah.
so it's her story from the heart in
Mhm.
in the film The Great Equalizer. It's on the US Inventor YouTube page.
So I'll
I asked US Inventor YouTube. Okay, US Inventor.
inventor. So what
And
I'll do is I'll tag all the films in the description so that people can go visit, watch
it's
them.
great. It's a great film. We just finished it, and it's her personal story. It's actually the focus of the film is about diversity in intellectual property. It's
Yeah.
about how innovation comes from the edge. The mom and pop, the
Mm.
small inventor is the disruptor. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they were all disruptors at the edge,
Yeah.
right? And they moved in and then pushed, against the big guy, and they succeeded. Google the same way. They all started with patents that were real small, and you know it's it's tough. That's basically what happened. So it's a story of small inventors like that are having problems accessing the intellectual property space through red tape or infringement, right?
Yeah.
And we got one of the top inventors in the world in there, Lonnie Johnson, who invented the Super Soaker toy, the big water gun,
Yeah.
invented that, and his licensing money allowed him to go on with more intellectual pursuits in because he worked on this Mars rover. He worked on a lot of stuff. He's a
Mm.
brilliant engineer, and he's working on new battery technology. But
Mm.
that simple toy that he was able to protect through infringement against infringement was licensed and made him money. So yeah, some people can protect against infringement with, like, in the end, the balloon guy, Josh,
Yeah.
he did win, right? But he had access to manufacturers, and a licensing partner who gave him access to the courts and fought hard for that IP,
Correct.
right? Because he had a partner in the fight. Most inventors don't.
Absolutely. And Luke, I also feel that it takes a lot of courage and resilience to fight. Like people, I think people can arrange money, they can arrange time, they can arrange everything. But that courage has to come from inside that, okay, we are stronger in position and we'll fight. And you have to trust the
Yeah,
lawyer you have and just have courage to go ahead with it.
absolutely. And you'll love in The Great Equalizer, you'll love Molly's story because it's only 15 minutes,
Yeah,
but it ends on a very inspirational message like what you just said. She says, I'm going to fight this.
correct.
I'm going to fight for IP and intellectual property and the small inventor. And she's a real hero. And you'll see that I love telling the stories of people who are heroes, people who are activists, people who are struggling against something bigger, you know, it's a hero's journey. That, big tech, big business are the dragons they're fighting. And it's a fascinating, they provide fascinating stories. And Molly's story will have you crying. Molly's story, I showed the film. It was presented to the United States Intellectual Property Alliance here in Atlanta at a big meeting, at a board meeting. And it was one of the PTAB judges that was there, a guy who defends a lot of he's done hundreds of cases in the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. And he defends a lot of independent inventors and IPRs and things like that. Probably works both sides, but it made him cry.
Mm.
So the only way that we're going to change the culture or change the policy is to change the culture and get people to understand, like you said, those simple concepts, right?
Yeah,
Get people back to the base of what's going on so they understand what's the core principle we're fighting for here: freedom, liberty, in our case, the American dream, getting a leg up, raising your station in life, those are all promises of intellectual property and securing your IP. So that's, there are victims in this, not just some large corporation but in the end, you peel away all the large corporation and the IPR and everything, it comes down to usually one guy who made it his life's passion to come up with this idea,
correct.
working in the back room of a business or in his basement or whatever.
Absolutely. So, Luke, do you think like in future there would be some changes, some developments happening in this area?
Yes, I think right now, and I just like that, I think that the only way to change policy is to change the culture, because politics is downstream of culture, right?
Yeah,
So if we can get the conversation going here in the United States, in Washington, D.C., and at this point it's very bipartisan, because Innovation Race is a very bipartisan film,
yeah,
nonpartisan. All right. We have leading Democrats, leading Republicans. If we can get everybody understanding, because nobody likes the big guy beating up on the little guy.
correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter what your politics are. All right. We know a bully. We know injustice when we see it.
yeah,
So everyone's kind of uniting around this. I think everyone understands there's a problem. Films like ours and lobbying from small inventors, and making consistent noise and rattling cages and beating on pans, that is raising awareness of the issue. And I think there will be changes made in the next Congress. And we have to until we get the American people on our side, large corporations will run this game in DC.
yeah, absolutely. So, Luke, now we'll come to your life, and this is our quick rapid fire round. Please answer these questions very quickly, and I
Okay, all right, I'll
will.
talk forever. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, three things you are grateful for.
Well, I'm very grateful for my wife, Joanne. She is my co-producer on our film. And I'm grateful for my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter. So
Wow.
that's three things. My family.
Two traits that you think are useful for a career in innovation or creation.
Three traits. Um, I would say a a passion to pursue a solution no matter what. All right. A passion to pursue a solution, right? Innovation. A willingness to explore ideas,
Wow.
different ideas, right? And accept other ideas. Um, and let's see, third thing for to innovation. Um, I mean, stick to itiveness. I already said that. Passion. Um, trying to think of my own.
Passion, exploration.
Yeah, exploration. Sure, sure. Exactly. There you
Absolutely. And one aspiration that you have for the future.
go. I would like to continue making documentaries about the little guy
Wow, awesome.
against the big guy. I think that'd be fun. All the
I
stories.
just
I mean, that's kind of a next project, but as far as aspiration, I mean, I'm getting close to retirement, I guess. I don't know.
I think
Still
this
still
is
working.
such a great idea. Why? Because in the limelight are the big people. Then we have a lot of population, a lot of number of the smaller ones whose stories are unheard. And
Right,
bringing
exactly.
them to people is blissful and wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
So Luke, any final thoughts for our audience before we conclude our podcast?
That's it. I mean, I would just tell all the innovators out there because I'm pretty much talking about patents, and
Yes.
innovation is real broad, right? I mean, innovation goes on beyond that. Innovations, everybody talks about innovation, anything. It's innovations everywhere in every TV commercial. I would say everyone continues to continue building on those ideas, continue breaking the rules.
Wow, breaking the rules, continue to break the rules. And I on behalf of my all of my audience wish you good luck for innovation race. We are going to watch it as soon as possible whenever it releases on Amazon Prime or any of the
Well,
web play.
the website is the best way to go.
Okay, perfect. So
Innovationracemovie.com.
absolutely amazing. I will tag that in our description so that people can just go and watch. Thank you so much, Luke, for being on this show and accepting my invitation. I know you are in a hurry because this is the week and one of the important weeks for you. I wish you all the best from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you, Priggya. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hey there, thank you for attending today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, do follow our channel and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.